Today, I want to talk about upbringing, how we raise our kids, what we say to them, our ingrained attitudes that we teach our kids as they experience the world and as they learn things and discover everything the beautiful world has to offer. It it matters what we say, what we do. They learn from us. They are sponges. If a child says and does racist, sexist, and homophobic things as they discover the world by testing their limits, do we tell them they're wrong? Do we tell them that's not what we say to or about other people? Do we enlighten them as to what's important? Do we tell them to judge people by what's on the inside? That if we don't have anything nice to say, we shouldn't say it at all, and we should only treat somebody how we'd like to be treated? Do we ignore them or tell them they're not wrong, thereby instilling ignorance by leading through example, specifically because we judge by what's on the outside? Do we say mean and hurtful things whenever, whyever, and however we feel like it, because we feel more deserving of good treatment than others? Does this ignorance quickly and forcefully metastasize, if not nipped in the bud at an early age? As we become adults, we all become like our parents, whether we admit it or not. Their traits get instilled throughout constant communication or deafening nonverbal naivete. They follow us throughout life and have an exponentially magnified effect if we hold public office. If we end up as president through election or otherwise, we're the epitome of what the people are or what they ignore. If we don't like having a president who is a racist, sexist, homophobic, tiny-handed baby man who bullies everybody in the schoolyard, we must ask whether we're racist, sexist, homophobic baby men ourselves. Teaching kids the right way to be when they're young without ignoring them or their outbursts would prevent somebody like President Donald Trump from even being a possibility. If you like what you heard, please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Please check out my website, BRYANRADZIN.com. You'll find information there about all my books, my social media, my podcasts, and a long list of heroes and songs that I greatly admire because of the truth-telling that they convey. Raising kids is interesting. We need to live by example. We need to watch certainly what we say and what we do around children, but we must ask if how we act, how do we act when other people are around? Do we act differently when certain races of people are around, when certain ages of people are around? What kind of different masks do we put on when we think we need to act out for somebody, or when we think someone's actually listening to the words we have to say? You know, it's difficult in this day and age when kids are inundated with social media, with every constant 24/7 information pounded in their brains. It's difficult to try to discover what's right and what's wrong sometimes, especially when we have trusted sources letting us know that this is what to say and this is what to do. If what we say to children we told to ourselves, we would end up in prison. That is the simple fact. If we explained our full, maybe how we view ourselves, we would end up in prison. And then if we, detail what we say to ourselves and what we do to ourselves and everything else, do we only act that way because of some, less than moral compass, from low self-esteem? And then if it is from low self-esteem, do we then lash out at others for being different, for being a different race, for being a different sex, for loving someone different, for identifying as someone different. When we feed into our most primal urges and our survival instincts, will we rely on being mean and rude to each other and violent and persecute others and put others down and lash out violently when people disagree with us, all because we're ignorant? Now, politicians are much the same way. The kids that we raise end up, with many of our traits, whether we want them to or not. And then our kids realize that they end up like their parents, whether they admit it or not. Politicians are much the same way. Politicians come from us. If there's politicians that hold racist, sexist, and homophobic views, or xenophobic views, or any phobic views for that matter, it's because of us. They don't drop out of the sky. They don't, they aren't created by some alien witch doctor. They come from us because they are us. If we don't like having someone like President Trump tell us, who to love and who needs to get deported, and that our country is getting too brown, and that DEI, is ruining the white race for this white supremacist ingrained country. If we allow that, if that happens, even if we don't allow it, it comes from us. If we allow it to happen, but we don't admit it, maybe we're saying that we still harbor those views but are afraid to express them. And then if we're afraid to express them, we must ask ourselves why. Why are we afraid to be who we truly are if who we truly are is a racist asshole? We can't be that way. If we want hope, if we still have hope for a new generation, we need to be loving, we need to be caring, we need to be kind, we need to be empathetic towards most certainly our kids, but also all the people around us, the people we don't know, our family, our friends, the people on the street that we pass that hopefully we wave at so we both know we're all human. Because that deletion of humanity is where most of this comes from. Then we need to ask ourselves where that humanity gets deleted from. However, that might be a whole different piece or talk or one of these messages that I feel important to put out to people. So, to wrap up, if somebody says and does terrible things, awful things, disgusting things, illegal things, if we truly want to stop it, we must look at why it's being caused. We must look in the mirror. We must ask, what role do we have to play? What role have we played? How have we created this monster? And just like to kill any monster, we need to bring it out from the shadows, call it out for what it really is, and let everybody know that it's literally going to destroy us if we don't recognize how awful we've become. But the great news is there's plenty of time to switch it around. There is always way more light than darkness in this country, and there always has been. We have the opportunity, we have the obligation to ourselves, to our family, to our friends, to our kids, to all successive generations to be a better person. We can love each other again. We can unify, but it will take conscious work, day in, day out, moment in, moment out, in everything we say and do to become that better person. Because if we live through example and others see our example, we must ask, What example are we leaving? Will we be glad what gets absorbed, or will we be disgusted by what we see absorbed? And if we're disgusted, we must ask again, how can we change it? We already know the answer. We know the answer to how to become a better person. We just need to become that better person and realize that just because someone has a different skin color, has a different religion, has a different sex, loves somebody different, identifies in some way we don't understand, none of that matters. People need to feel comfortable in themselves because we feel comfortable in ourselves. When we do that, when we feel comfortable in ourselves, we will stop lashing out. We will then help people feel comfortable in themselves. And when they do feel comfortable, and we don't feel comfortable with them because we haven't gotten to that point yet, that jealousy will ruin us if we're not careful. We can do this. We can become the better people of our dreams. We can have the unification that we all picture and we all dream and we all want to have. We must raise our kids the right way because the future, our very survival, depends on it. Will we teach them the darkest parts of ourselves, or will we show them the light? The literal survival of our planet and our collective species depends on it.